Okay, so this is our second video about input devices, and we're going to be looking today at touchscreens. So we're going to be looking at the three different types of touchscreens, how they work, the advantages, disadvantages, and we'll have a couple of looks at where you might see them in the real world. Okay, so first of all, let's describe what a touchscreen is. The first thing is, a touchscreen is an input device and an output device. Okay, so it acts as both. It acts as an output device because you can see it and you're looking at what's going on in your phone or your whatever device you're using, looking at it, and an input device because you can touch it to relay positional data. Okay, now it is a manual input device, just like a keyboard and a mouse, which means that you're doing it yourself. It's not going to be done automatic. The computer is not going to do it for you. Alright, so there are three main types of touchscreens. We have resistive, capacitive, and infrared. We're going to have a look at the three different types now and look at their advantages and disadvantages. So the first one we're going to look at is resistive. Okay, now a resistive phone, it kind of has two layers. Alright, kind of like that. I haven't drawn that very well because it's not very straight, but you kind of get the gist of it. And when you push down on the first layer or the top layer, it pushes onto the second layer, a bit like where I made that mistake there, and it kind of touches them together. All right, and when the layers are touched together, it completes the circuit, an electric circuit, and a signal is sent, showing the processor the positional data of where the finger's been touched. Okay, so it has to be pushed down, and the two screens have to touch each other. Now, an advantage of this is, one, it's the cheapest of the three types, right? And two, any object can be used to touch it, whether it's your phone, your finger, a pen, your finger in a glove, or anything like that. Anything that touches it can work, no problem. Disadvantage is that it's easily damaged. So basically, if this top layer gets damaged, it's not going to work because you don't have the layer to push onto the other layer. All right, so if it gets damaged or the screen gets cracked, it's broken. All right. Now the second one, which is the most common in mobile phones, by the way, is capacitive. Now, capacitive screen has a grid of conducting stripes. All right. Now they're laid at each side of the screen. So if you imagine it, and they're much tighter than this. Okay, these are very wide grids here. All right, it's just for speed for the explanation. All right, so imagine it's like that. Okay, so now when your finger touches the grid, okay, because you conduct electricity in your body, it draws the conductive strip away from the screen and to your finger. Okay, now when it does this, the power is lost. All right, so it's lost from that grid, and where the power is lost, that information is then sent to the processor, to the CPU, and it can use where the power is lost to pick up where that positional data is. All right, so it's where the two crosses are gone, basically, because it's drawn it to it. Now the advantage is that it is a stronger screen than resistive. All right, so it's going to look a lot brighter and it's a lot more durable. Okay, which is two big benefits when you're carrying something around your pocket, because you want something to be stronger, and you also, because you use it a lot outside, you need it to be brighter. Okay, now a big disadvantage is, and you probably all know this already through using mobile phones, it will not work if you have a glove on. So when it's cold outside and you've got a glove on, if it's not a special glove used for using mobile phones, it's not going to work. All right, because when you put your glove on, it cannot draw the power away because you've put a layer over your finger. So you can't use anything like you can with the resistive. Now finally, infrared, which isn't that different to the capacitive, the last one we looked at, in the sense that it uses a grid also. Okay, but the grid that the infrared uses is an infrared beam, which means you can't see it, but it goes across the screen. Okay, now no matter what you put on that beam, whether it's a pen, a finger in a glove, anything, okay, it's going to break it, all right, because it's a light beam at the end of the day. So anything you put in the way, it's going to break that beam. Now, just like the capacitive one we looked at before, where that beam is broken, it's going to send the message or the signal to the CPU, and the CPU is going to use that to track the positional data of it. Now, the advantages are it's very bright, okay, you can touch your screen with any object. Two really good advantages. The big disadvantage is it's the most expensive out of the three, which is why you normally find capacitive for mobile phones, because it's more cost effective. All right, so we're going to have a look at a couple of places you might see touchscreens used in the real world, and then we'll leave the video there. So one example is every day in pretty much every class you sit in, your teacher will probably be using an interactive whiteboard. On that interactive whiteboard, whoever gets up to the front to use it can move things around using their finger. They can even, if they've got a touchpad on or a number pad on the screen, they can type numbers or letters in there. They can use the on-screen keyboard to do it, and they can also use pen to write notes and things. All right, so you're probably very familiar with the interactive whiteboards, and they are touchscreens. That is one of the three touchscreen technologies that we've just looked at. Okay, and then finally, your mobile phone. Okay, your mobile phone is a little touchscreen. You use it as an output device to see what's going on in your phone, and you use it as an input device to put information into your phone. Okay, so two examples where you might see them. And that is it for touchscreens. I'll see you in the next video.